Go.
Our mission. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting parents whose children have passed. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. Helping Parents Heal goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non-dogmatic way. Helping Parents Heal affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at this meeting is voluntary. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Discussions here are confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of Helping Parents Heal meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes presenters covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with our children who have passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad to have you here with us this evening, Michael. Everyone, you're in for a treat this evening.
Yes, it's going to be wonderful, and I am just so grateful to have Michael on here. I was very honored to be interviewed by him, and the interview is now available. It came out on the 16th of June, and I can put the link in the chat box if you all would like to watch that. But it's also on Helping Parents Heal and in the newsletter. I'm going to go ahead and read his very short bio before he gets started. Michael André Ford is an angel intuitive whose ability to remove the veil since 2012 means people feel, hear, and see angels, figures from India, Native American chiefs, plus 175 loving beings like Mary, Buddha, Plato, Jesus, light beings, and passed over loved ones and pets. Angels are happy to assist with all matters. Plus, they'll shed light on your unique life path and the opportunities before you. Experience via the highest intent, more love and compassion, plus get amazing hugs and humor. Michael's book, Listening to Angels, as I said, was endorsed by Anita Morjani, and I will put the link to that in the chat box. And he also has a podcast, Angels, Positivity, and Love, and he has 139 shows set into 2025. Some of his sample guests have included Lorna Byrne, who we were really excited to interview here on Helping Parents Heal. She's also an angel intuitive, and she's Irish, and she's beautiful. Dr. Eben Alexander, and I know that all of you have been on those interviews as well. Jennifer McLean, Echo Bodine, Ingrid Honkala, who will be again a guest speaker at our conference, Michelle Clare, who is one of our recommended mediums, Arielle Ford, Hale Dwoskin, Lee Woodruff, Pam Grout, again, who we were really happy to interview, Dr. Karen Wyatt, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and put his YouTube link as well as his website and book link in the chat box. And without further ado, please join me and Irene in welcoming Michael André Ford. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again, Elizabeth. Very nice to meet you, Irene. And thank you everyone for coming on. It was a big intro there. I would just like to say that, hey, it's going to seem like I do a lot for folks. All I'm doing is helping a person relax enough out of what they know in terms of thinking their reality to just be in the heart long enough to do basic listening, basic feeling, basic seeing. So it's a direct experience. If you had a twin sister or twin brother, you each did it separately. You were calm about it afterwards. You could do it jointly. So I feel very fortunate that it's so direct. And I've got photos of angels, a few videos, balls of light flying around as guests are on the show. Again, it's direct. So it's very catering, so to speak, to the different cultures around the globe and each person's individual situation.
That's so interesting. And I want to hear more about that a little later, but I would love for you to tell a little bit about your journey to becoming an angel intuitive, because I think all of us are very interested in knowing how that happens, but also knowing a little bit more about your own life, which is actually kind of fascinating. So, could you start at the beginning, maybe with your dad, and then go through to now, which currently you're in Texas, you're in San Antonio, but just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Now, I'm an East Coaster. I've moved 25 to 42 or 3 times, depending on how you count a move. My dad passed when I was 2, and that would be the US Navy. He was a fighter pilot type, but not the actual pilot, the backseater in an F-4 Phantom fighter who passed off the coast of Italy, Naples, in June of 1970. So literally June 7th was his birthday. I think he had just turned 25, if I can remember, 26, 25, and he passed on June 10th, and they didn't recover any body. He was put into Arlington with the full military honors in 1998 in November, was part of a front page Washington Post story. And they did a missing man flyover, shut down all 3 airports. His actual squadron, the Black Aces, came in, did a missing man flyover, and so on. So it was beautiful, good closure for all the people who remembered him. I was 2 at the time, but it was part of my life path. He knew he was going to go early. Super tall, very nice fellow, 6'1". And my mom passed a very bubbly 5'4" artist type, great at connecting people, but not for her own benefit. Just the people she connected would become lifelong friends or get married. And it was super cute. She had great energy in a room. But she passed when I was turning 23. She was probably 44, 45. It was her time to go. An aneurysm, and 24 hours later, they were unplugging her. But what's going to sound how it's going to sound is hundreds of people have seen them, met them since then. So it's not quite the same perspective I might have carried around, in my teens or young adult years. So there's been a bit of a perspective change for me, and I've always been very happy-go-lucky. I lived in New York City for 18 years. Everyone thought I was from California. That's like the one place I feel like I've never lived. But the blonde hair, talking to the cab driver, security people, doormen, pretty much anybody, they always were like, where are you from? You can't be from New York. And so I've always had a kind of positive attitude. As for life, working on Wall Street, and I fell into public relations, I honestly feel like I've gone backwards through life. I can't explain how any of it is. I'm so lucky I got through 4 years of Andover and Middlebury. I didn't do half my Plato reading. You can meet Plato, and I get ribbed about it. So I'm a very enthusiastic person. You'll have to take me with a grain of salt. I believe in no limits, and I try to teach no limits, and that everyone has unlimited skills. For most of us, we only believe it, on the pickleball court or when we go for our walk or petting our dog. We don't tend to apply that openness to every single thing. Thinking, for me, for everybody I've ever met, usually kicks in, and pretty hard at times. So the thinking itself is the one area that I help people to let go on the accelerator on, just temporarily. It's all going to come back. But when you let go and go to here, that's when the universe steps in and does the rest. You get to do direct chatting, listening, hugs, and so on. So I had both parents pass, and I will just mention the Wall Street job. I was down to my last $500. I got invited to Sun Valley. I wasn't going to say no. Got to go skiing with a friend of mine, but I was at a New Year's Eve party, and there was a chairman of a Wall Street firm who, when I mentioned I had an interview with Viacom, he said, hey, I know, I think it was Frank Biondi, the chairman back then. Why don't you come and have lunch? It was a friend of a friend. Have lunch, check things out. Next thing you know, he never mentioned Viacom. He was offering me a job, but I think it had been whispered that my mom had passed. So I was getting a lucky break. They were looking out for me a little bit, whoever it was. So I got offered the Wall Street job, but I looked young. At 23, I looked 14. I'm 56 now. When I was in my 30s, I looked 22. I mean, it's been a lifelong experience here looking young. So, I mean, I lost every account that I met face to face, but I had a good phone voice. So something came from those 2 years. I got into public relations for 18 years, and I put people literally on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, put them on the front page of the business section of the New York Times, Financial Times front page, CNN, back when the media was normal. So I did a lot of that until the Lehman crisis. And that's when I had a sudden layoff. I was in a third round of stealth layoffs with 72 other people. I was at $1 billion law firm, their head of PR worldwide. And I think I was the only one excited because I wanted out in New York at that point. And I had bought a home in Austin, Texas, my first ever home at age maybe 40 or so. And it gave me the chance to get a clean slate and move over. But when I did that, I started having a lot of experiences. I would have failed a Plato test, a spirituality test, an Oprah Super Soul Sunday test. I didn't know anything. I don't think I know much more now, but now I'm paying attention a little more. That's all I can say. But I had seeing, feeling stuff happening. I'm grabbing every psychic by the lapels, saying, what's going on? I started taking photos of what I was seeing. So I snapped beautiful photos of angels. They're on the website. You can check it out. But historical photos will move. Light energy photos of angels, fairies, Plato. I've got a photo of Plato. They'll move as well. It's truly no limits and pushing what one normally allows for going day to day through life. So this is about openness or opening up a little more or going beyond one's thinking, which again is going to come right back. Everyone's doing their version of reality exactly how they're doing it. I got the lucky assignment of trying to help someone just get to here long enough to do the basic again, feeling, seeing, hearing. And so people tend to get what they need. And there's a little bit of good feeling, a lot of yawning, sometimes a lot of tears if it's about a release. Last time I checked, we're all carrying around a lot of, emotional stuff, and it builds up again. Even if you clear it out, go to Bali and have a healer help you, 6 months later, we can be carrying a whole wagon load all over again. Welcome to being human. Welcome to doing some thinking.
Well, that's a beautiful way of telling us about everything that you've done so far. But maybe, and I know that you moved to Austin and you started having all of these things happen, but was there any reason that this started happening? I know that a lot of it has to do with your parents, and maybe you could tell a little bit about people seeing your parents as well. But do you know why this started happening to you, and the people that you've met through these experiences are fairly incredible, and maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Sure. And I'm going to preface it with just, hey, love is love. And then there's the rest of the details. And you definitely need me to talk in this show. But it's not important in one sense, anything that I'm saying, because I'm going to remind everybody you all have a big, big heart. And no matter who it's been as a healer on the show, I like to remind everybody that you have unlimited listening, feeling, seeing abilities. Just you're usually applying it confidently it's the level of difficulty of falling asleep at night, brushing your teeth. Name some activity you do without even a thought. That's what this is about, is not thinking about it, almost at the light switch level on the wall. But because this is so either sensational, woo, 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 spiritual, or a big deal in some form or fashion, it's going to seem like a lot. Yes, in Austin, I had the layoff. That was a bit of a shock to the psyche, career path wise. So it kind of jarred me. And I had a couple other smaller events happen where it felt like I got popped out of thinking. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And that's when the journey sort of really began. I'm totally oblivious, not in a bad way, just super happy, super positive, normally during life, but clueless, absolutely clueless. Now I'm like 50% less clueless. And that served me very well for staying the course and not freaking out about what's going on. So I'll show my parents. Yes, hundreds of people have seen these two. They're not angels. They're reconciled. They're unconditional love figures. If it's okay to use any lingo, like I try not to do anything dogma, like even lingo. The closest I get to lingo would be love, unconditional love. What am I missing? Compassion, kindness, gentleness. And yes, angels exist. Trust this is so. And your answers and much more will come. And in fact, if you had left the program right now, you would only have to be like, angels, sock it to me. I could use a lot of love. I don't care how you do it, not too rough with me. Bring me more each day. Help me relax more at the concept of just letting go, and then watch what happens. But, ask a few times a day at least, especially before bed or first thing in the morning when you're paying attention more. But here are my parents. It was their time to go respectively. And that's Barb, 5'4", and Mike Sr. And hopefully that's coming through okay.
Yes.
But they love to show when they're young and very peppy. My mom gives good advice, life advice. My dad can be quiet most of the time, just a few words, but he gets chatty with some people. And I do the same thing with Audrey Hepburn's photo. Like I put it up and she's an angel, but you can see her wink, smile, shoulder waggle, the nose moves, eyebrow goes up. We all know static photos can't move, but so why don't we make sure I'll blow some sage through the screen. I light some sage later. And I do this on the show for all the guests. It's now 175 shows booked into basically February of 2025. I think I've only had 2 guests not do anything either before, during, or after the show. And that's okay. The contrast, love is what allows you to enjoy all the flavor in life. And I know I'm including a lot of flavor that we would all sign a contract right now to not to have gone through at all. But there's usually something behind it that is an opportunity, and not many of us will ever use that word opportunity, but it's opportunity for the growth and expansion for us. And fortunately and unfortunately, that never stops. A lot of us rest our laurels on knowing something, and that precludes possibility. And that's where we get stuck. And so my job is to kind of help people let go, get unstuck long enough to do basic, direct connecting to the universe, and the universe does the rest. So I'm kind of still like doing PR. You all might be the reporters or the experts on the other side, and then the angels and everybody else, Einstein, Gandhi, Mary, they're the other side of the picture. So I'm doing the connecting like the old days. But there was a question in there.
Well, I was also just going to ask you because I think that this is something all of us want to be able to do as well. Um, you do spend a lot of time connecting with your parents as well, and I know that every single parent on here wants to be able to connect with their child. So, you are telling us that this is something that is as easy as almost brushing our teeth or turning on a light, and this is what we hear from mediums as well. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how what you do is different from mediumship? Would you call it very similar or different? Or I'd love to. Oh, and actually, I need to share a few things on here as well. People are asking, but could you tell us a little bit about the differences and the skill level, I guess, to be able to do what you're doing?
I try not to tell anybody anything in terms of a direct answer. The record is 9 hours of direct listening, 48 pages. Australians are great at this for some reason. New Zealanders, Canadians, and then India is a really big country. So there's a certain group from India that are just ready to go. Americans, not that we're judging countries, and no offense to America, but we're about like 6th on the list. It just depends how gung-ho are you. Can you just say, yes, I got it, what's next? That's the highest, fastest person who's like, yeah, I just smelled sage being blown, lit sage smoke from here to wherever you are around the US or abroad, you smell the sage. And I show my light on my fingers, auras, Christ consciousness, Hindu chakras, whatever you want to call it. Some people see it if I'm moving my hands around, but that light is just consciousness itself. It's on everything around you, your pooch. So I do baby steps to just show a person that you're in the flow, whether it's the Force from Star Wars, athletic flow. Think of all the talk about sports and when the person's in the zone. And that's why I would like to get away from the sports for a second and just remind a person that during a day, you're in the flow. There's got to be something you're enjoying, or just the amazingness of crossing the room. Or no one flipped a light switch last week in the living room and is still worrying about it today. I don't know why. We worry about everything else and we're like, I can't sleep at night because of the bill, or this person said something. But when it comes to light switches or your certain molar, did I brush it just right? For some reason, there's a certain threshold of activity that the brain, the intellect, the ego, the psyche does not react to. You're allowed to just flip a light switch, brush your teeth, and not beat yourself up over it later. So there's a certain realm of activity that you're an Olympian. And all I'm trying to say is 7% less thinking, which is an angel saying this daily, is what we're talking about for an Olympic gold medal level of effort, of just slowing down out of here into here, to breathe easier, smile a little more, maybe listen to more music, read a book, anything to get out of the brain. The brain tends to do this. And I mean, I think we've all been there. Welcome to being human. It's like the movie Casablanca. I'm shocked to see there's gambling going on in this casino. That's our ego with thinking. So whatever I'm talking about here, it's the last thing in the world your ego wants to do. It's easier to judge, reject it, and everything else, and that's cool. But the second you just give yourself permission to let go and you give the universe permission to help is when you'll notice something starts to happen. You can ask for a floral smell. You can feel an angel's hand in your hand. You can see them full on in human form with and without wings. I like to do both because humans are so finicky. Half the people I know are like, I don't want to see them with wings. The other half are like, I have to see them with wings. I make sure both sides do it both ways. So then you can go to whichever corner you're going to be in later in life. So it's, you see on the lawn, you always do angels first, but you just check, make sure it's cool to meet the relative. The relative comes in, you've heard it from angels directly. You have a two-way chat, you feel the love, you're seeing them. Pooches, I would do the pet first. Sometimes you do it with your eyes closed. If you're nervous about it, you can see like a long beach and there'll be 2 football fields off. It just depends on how sensitive it is. If you're going to just bawl right away, that's sensitive. So you got to tiptoe into this. Everyone's different. There are a lot of gung-ho people, and there's a lot of people who just, make it look easy. So anything you think, James Van Praagh, Tyler Henry, name anybody, and we'll talk about their offspring, like the grandchildren of these people, whatever you think they do, you actually have a huge heart. You've got unlimited ability to listen, feel, hear, see. I don't want to sound like Tony Robbins here, but you have unlimited ability to do all this. And maybe you have to tiptoe into it, be like, hey, dream time. I could use a great dream with a beautiful angel coming in who I just feel calm and cool and collected about. And then I could use either my pet or my loved one, but don't try to just go straight to the hardest, the biggest figure for you where you're going to get the most emotional, like scrambled. It would be like if I get somebody who's got a lot of different questions in life, I never start with the hardest, most stressful question. They're $50,000 in debt. All they want to know about is the money stuff. I always start for 12 plus years now with the simplest question, which I'm going to look like, I get to be like a deer in headlights at times, so forgive me for this, but the simplest question people have been doing by the thousands now is, let's say it's an angel named Joy. Joy, what do I need to know in life right now? And you'll hear a high, peppy 28-year-old voice responding back, although somebody got an 18-year-old voice the other day. And it might sound like your voice for 2 seconds. The second you let go, full volume comes in. If you can breathe more through your mouth, that's an unofficial rule. It's like turning up the volume. Breathe through the nose if you're a nose breather. I get some of those too, who yell at me for suggesting the mouth. But the point is, if the shoulders are going up and down, you're breathing more, like you're doing exercise. Your body knows what to do. Your heart knows what to do. It's from the neck up that we run into a little bit of difficulty, or I'll add a lot of difficulty, because we can get stuck for decades. We can know what we know. No one's going to be able to tell us otherwise. I mean, my problem is, my situation is, my drama is, you just don't understand. I'm not saying I've heard that regarding this practice, but just in normal life, my personal belief is you can barely tell anybody anything, but you can definitely tiptoe in and suggest. And then there's a divine aspect to this. People find it who are ready and who are willing to just let go of what they know long enough. It's the knowing that precludes possibility that they're letting go of, and they feel a little better afterwards.
That's exactly right. And I want to tell you that I was just listening to something the other day about the fact that everything that's important in our lives, everything that we're thinking about, goes on in between our navel and our heart. And that's the area that we should be focusing on, not our heads. This is not where we're going to be able to be seeing, hearing, feeling everything that you're describing. But I would love for you to be able to burn some sage for all of us. He burned some sage for Irene and I right before the meeting, and it was incredible because I was able to smell it, obviously, on the interview, but Irene also was able to smell it. Do you think that you can do it for this many people? I think that we're 71 on here right now.
No, look, it's a direct experience. You just have to give yourself permission to let go. Let me tell a couple dad jokes. Let me remind folks, if you don't mind taking 1 or 2 steps wherever you are, those steps would be just set your intent. So this would apply to anything, even you going out the door for a walk tomorrow, or you want to simply allow angels to come in. It may be the feather at the doorstep. It may be an electronic feather twirling down, meaning made out of light. It's not really going to be there tomorrow, but you saw a feather come down. I like that better than the traditional feathers. So what will you allow for is the rub. So if we ditch the topic today, the woo-woo-woo, the spiritual, the angels and everything else, the universe, and we just said, what are we allowing for? You know, a lot of us were shut tight like oysters. This is about just ditching the oyster, the seafood for a little bit to be here. I'm telling you, you're wide open at least 70% of each day. You just wouldn't give yourself any credit for it. So there's a little bit about the self-love thing. Give yourself a break. 2 dad jokes. Then I'm going to remind you how to set your intent, like officially the Michael Ford way. It's my only rule and only bit of structure. And by the way, that is angels. Hey, get me out of my head, into my heart, make this nice. Help me smell some sage. And if you want to go crazy, sage, ask for flowers you haven't had for a long time, plus ocean you haven't had for a long time. Now, if you're living in Bethany Beach right now, Delaware, ask for a different ocean so you're not getting confused, like Hawaii or Florida or wherever. So I'm about to light some sage, but 1 dad joke, because if you're laughing, you're letting go, and I'll make it 2 just to cover the bases in case you didn't like the first one. Santa's reindeer, Blitzen, Dancer, just those 2. Why do they drink so much coffee, Blitzen and Dancer? Why do they drink so much coffee? Because they're Santa's Starbucks. And then the next one is Bert and Ernie, Sesame Street. Same thing. You don't have to remember who's who, but Bert offers Ernie ice cream. What's Ernie say? Sure, Bert. Okay, some people are intuitive, which, by the way, all of you are intuitive, but it might be in an athletic way, artistic way, singing. You're just great at yoga. You love to read. Whatever it is that you're doing, I argue it's all intuitive. You're doing it from the heart. That's all this is. You might start tasting it by looking at the sage. It's Juniper Ridge sage, the stuff found in Whole Foods headquarters. You can find that link on my website. I'm not sponsored or anything. I should be. When you look at the smoke, catch some sage. Some people get the fire smell if you're camping. Catch what you can catch, allow. It's a red-tailed hawk feather I found on the trail from a Native American chief. You got to take that with a grain of salt. But let the sage come to you. Smell what you can smell. No try Yoda. If I need to do Yoda's voice, I'll do Yoda's voice. It's out of the head. Do it from the heart. Catch some sage. And if you're already off to the races, ask for a floral smell. Lavender, sweetgrass, juniper, or hyacinth, something. I'm going to lose all my flower names here. You can see some comments on the website from people on YouTube when I do this, that they're like, this is a year later. They're like, I smelled the sage. So it's not limited by time or space. That's why this screen thing doesn't really matter. Can I just see anybody with a hand up if you've caught some sage? Cool. I see 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. Anybody else? Okay, you get another joke. Why did the rabbit fall down that well? He didn't see that well. Breathe and relax, let go. And leave your eyes on the sage. Let the smoke do its job. If you need to consider this plant medicine, but it's really angels bringing it to you. And I am going to snub this out in a second, so just allow for it. Later, through angels, you can just ask for this without having to light anything. But I think floral is kind of more cool, personally. So you ask for roses. If you want to catch roses right now, do it this way. If you've got angels, you've got your loved ones, you can ask angels to bring you flowers, but ask loved ones to kick it into gear. Odds are you're going to be rooting for your loved ones to kick it into gear for you. Allow for a floral smell. If you need to shut your eyes, do it. And if anybody needs to put their hand on their heart to let go a little extra, it's got to be your way. Kind of like that 80s Burger King commercial. You got to have it your way. So, okay, I am snubbing this out. Elizabeth, is there a question from the audience we should get to?
I haven't asked for people to ask questions,
okay.
but I would love to be able to have questions if we have a lot of people saying hello. But I have a question that I've been wanting to ask, and that is this something that you're able to turn off, or do you see angels throughout the day, as well as other people's loved ones? Because I know that you do that as well, and I know that a lot of times it comes when you're walking your dogs or doing things that are very repetitive, and I guess we would call that a moving meditation. But is it something that is easy for you to turn on and to turn off?
It feels like I'm just in it all the time. So especially shower, I'm a runner for 42 years. If I'm 56, I started running when I was 14. But during the run, obviously thinking's kicking in all the time as well. But I've got angels and loving guides coming in. So it's kind of a three-way, two-way, multi-way chat quite often. As for passed over loved ones, if you'd asked me 10 years ago if I'd be doing it, I would have been like, certainly not. Jenny here in this household does that. They ring her doorbell. She proves who they are on a piece of paper and then does direct listening, which I think is the more traditional, what you find everywhere. I help a person open up and own their inherent listening, feeling, seeing skills. Call it mediumship if you want, psychic this, psychic that. I call it the heart. You've just got a big heart. You use it all the time on certain quadrants or areas of your life, but you don't give yourself credit on this last little frontier. And I think it's just more consciousness, more awareness, more love in the moment, more sparkle.
That's beautiful. And so you're able to use this whenever you need it. Has this ability to speak to angels, I'm sure it's improved your life, but I wonder, in terms of your life path now, do you feel that this is something that's been incredibly important to you, but also that has existed since you were born? I mean, I would assume that this is something that was decided long before you came here, that you were going to be an angel intuitive.
Yeah, and anything that I said that sounded smart, by the way, I've only been doing this like 12 years, so I've heard a lot of angels talking. I usually repeat what they're saying, especially like the 7% less thinking a day thing. But yes, my unique life path, everyone's got one, and angels are here to help you remember what it is. It usually follows your heart, your passions. They'll get you back on track. They can alter your path. There's any question, any answer to any question, all languages spoken, all dialects. I speak some French. That's it. And like 2 sentences in German and obviously English. So I had 5 women from Japan over one day who had been living in Austin, Texas for a while. Obviously, most of their answers, I'd say half were in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. So again, it's direct. My unique life path is to help other people meet their angel team, their cheerleaders, guides, loved ones, and so on. The loved ones just kind of came in the last, like, I'd say 4 to 5 years. And so, yes, throughout my life, there's been oddities, like little things that when I look back now, and you can see angels in full on human form. So if you want to allow for the following, you don't have to listen to any of this. Just be like, hey, angels, I wouldn't mind a random stranger, sparkly eyes out of Hollywood casting, holding open the door for me to a store as I'm hustling and bustling. It could be the dry cleaner, supermarket, I'm getting my hair cut, but you're not going to be late if they stop you for a second. Have that interaction, and you can even ask them for a cup of coffee, go to the local diner and chat. Some of my guests have had that happen. It's direct. It's what will you allow for? And if we back up to just the basic, what are we allowing for right now? Are you having enough fun? Are you dancing? Are you singing? Are you going for your walks, getting out in nature? I mean, it's a tough proposition because we know what we know up here, and then there's down here where we do want to take the dog out for a walk, and we do want to do all those other things. So whatever that tug of war is, taking out the spiritual, the angels, everything, that's the same thing. You kind of have to not confront, you just have to go easy on yourself. You're fully capable of allowing a little more and engaging a little more with life. I'll quote a Native American chief: life is a feast, partake. And I will give one quick story. I was an intern at an ad agency in Middlebury, Vermont. I'm like 10 minutes on the premises. And I said to the owner, have you ever had ghosts here? And I was always fascinated by ghosts for about a 10-year period between Nantucket and New England and stuff like that. And he stopped, and the whole place stopped. And he pulled me aside and he's like, I need to know if you see anything. And did you see anything? And I'm like, no, it just feels it's got that kind of vibe. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm in college, but they had an exorcism like a week earlier, and they were jumpy. And it had a long history of being haunted, all the prior businesses that have been there. Ghosts aren't really my thing. It's just love and above. And again, it's something where I can't emphasize enough. If you poke around, I think I have 101 testimonials on the website, but from some really fun people with some fun flavor. The show itself, a lot of people take steps on the show. You can do the same thing. Get into the vibe listening to the guest. And then towards the end, you may be using your hands, you may be breathing, you may be hearing, feeling, seeing. It's kind of all been done technically inside the show, but a lot goes on off camera before and after. It's a little easier that way. The point of the show isn't to prove anything. No one has to do anything tonight. But it's available. You have to find the way to take your own baby steps. Just find a way to be like, okay, forget about him. Universe, help me before I go to bed. Just help me have a gentle dream, or to allow for the possibility of allowing next week. Something that makes you laugh because you're like, I'm really dipping my toe in the pool. I'm not cannonballing in. We tend to be awfully shy about all this. So
Well, I think that we are awfully shy in normal lives, possibly, but I think that once we've had a child transition, we're really excited about all of this, and we're ready to do whatever we can to be able to not only communicate with our angels and our guides, but more importantly with our kids. So this is all very important information for us. Lakshmi is saying, I see beautiful birds. How do I differentiate between a sign and a regular bird? Is there any, do you have any idea of that, or is every bird a sign?
the heart, you gotta learn to trust your own heart about this. So we were just talking about a cardinal today, literally an hour ago, when she was on the treadmill looking out the window. I didn't get to see it. She got to see it, and she's lost both her mom and dad. For her, the mom is cardinals. For me, it's those tufted titmouse birds. That would be my mom. Except I just feel like they're a lot more available if you just, again, slow the roll. Listen, you can get comfortable. Think about this as driving. There's a point when you were 12, 13, 14, older people were driving around you, your siblings, your friends, you were nervous. Some people were super excited. I think that just shows how it's the entire gamut here, the entire spectrum. At some point you learned how to drive and you jingled those keys like out of a car commercial. You're like, hooray, I'm going driving. You tell everybody, let's go for a ride. But how long did that last? Max at 2 years. Most of us as an adult, we get stuck in traffic. We're like, hey, we're up here, we're upset, we're reacting. That's not what this is about. There's a few people, though, using it as sort of a mindfulness practice, and they're breathing. That's more what this is about. So you have it within you to allow more, love more, and just give yourself a break. I'm only talking about an hour a day, nothing too radical, maybe 2 hours. But that's where you learn to trust the currents, the flows, the love flow, the consciousness, the awareness. It's about growing your awareness, not your thinking more. And if you want, I'll put up a couple photos and I'll try to show my aura if you want. I can do that. And I can talk angels if you want a little bit using the photos. But those are 3 photos of angels: a Charlotte, a Joy, a Minwala, my guardian angel. The Dr. Karen Wyatt, when she saw that silhouette of an angel, was like, that's my guardian angel. She tells the story in her August 30th, so it hasn't come out yet, end of 2024, August 30th, her show comes out. When she was like 10, I'm gonna have to make up the age, she woke up to a beautiful woman standing kind of towering over her bed, beautiful angel. And it was because of that experience, she decided to become a doctor, the whole medical thing. And when she saw the photo, she's like, hey, that's my guardian angel. And I'm sure Min, which is the Lakota Sioux word for water, she's light waves of energy in water, a soft-spoken professor. I'm sure Min has 80,000 of us as wards, to which she's the guardian angel. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then she had grabbed me, and she doesn't mind me saying this. This is put it on every one of my social media sites. I pulled 7 minutes from the show, and she talks about that. She talks about a couple days with me where she didn't tell me what was going on medically. It was the last minute of the second day that I heard something, and she said it on the show that it was her heart. She says she got divine healing. It was direct. It's what will you allow for? And then it's allow, ask, and receive. But you got to do it at your speed. Really, we're talking birds. If it's your relative, can you put them not last? Can you put them at like the 7th step so that you can just own it first? Build up your confidence, test the electricity, the plumbing. Does my listening work? Am I doing it right? That's what we're talking about, is just like, oh, it's the way I know my yoga. It's the way I know my Agatha Christie books when I'm in the story with Agatha Christie and I'm like, hey, I love these books. Whatever you're passionate about is the heart. The heart knows no limits. It's already fully connected. This isn't about gaining or losing anything. You got to move past seeing the negative here. You've got it already, but there's a lot of clutter thinking. The Buddhists would call it dust. And even if we sweep it clean and you're wide open, running around in circles on the camera yelling, I got it, wait a week and welcome to being human. You're going to have some more thinking come back in. So you have to find your own way to kind of hit that heart button, let go, and do your own listening, your own feeling, ultimately your own seeing. I'm really good at helping a person get around their resistance. I'll use humor, breathing, whatever. It's a top hat, cane, and some tap shoes that I do to make sure I help you get that little distance from here to here. If you want, is it okay to maybe show some light on my hands? Is that all right?
Of course, we'd love that.
Okay, this is going to be the Celestine Prophecy Method, the movie, but as a one guest who you all know, I think it was Sue Frederick said on her show, she said they were doing this in the 70s. So it wasn't just the movie. In India, they do it this way. You can do it. Blue sky is number one, a shut-off TV number two, a dark background will make your light pop. That's if you need help. If you're really cocky and confident, you're already seeing auras, then no big deal. But everything has light on it, consciousness. We're all kind of connected. You can see flows between people. But what's cool is you can ask angels to make butterflies coming out of that flow. So there's a lot of Disney CGI stuff that I love because it's fun. It's very sparkly. It helps you remember what it's all about. You lighten up. I'm going to do this against a black background and then pull apart and do 2 New York City elevators. So I'm going to do this. If you happen to have blue sky out a window, you want to turn, you only have to hear the voice. You'll see a filament of light between my fingers. It could be gold, blue, green. It could be any color. If it's gray, it's like a blanket covering the color. So just breathe more, tell yourself it's okay, let go, and it'll come off and it'll turn into the color. If it's rainbow light, hang up, run out and buy a lotto ticket. It's big. Or if you were struggling with something, now's the time to go clean the garage out. You've been putting it off for 2 years. Rainbow light is really big. So have fun with this. Okay, no triota. And in a second, I'm going to pull apart to see a little filament of light, a stream between my fingers. And catch what you can catch. And I'll tell another dad joke. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. But somebody said iris the other day, so they're correct too. You could either see a clear thing, white, white, green, white, gold, yellow. What will you allow for? Breathe and relax, no touching the face. Breathe through your mouth extra if you need help. Put a hand on your heart. It's got to be your way of letting go. Can I see a show of hands? Anybody who's seeing a filament of light color? Yay. We got some people seeing it. Now, it doesn't matter about anything I've said today. You've got to do it. So maybe on the walk tomorrow, blue sky is like number one. You put your fingers together, make a giant pencil, go 1 centimeter apart, and then 2 New York City elevators, 1 floor up, 1 floor down. Just see your light. But if you're sitting on a beach, I'm guaranteeing you got a 60% boost because you're relaxed. It's got to be you on you and not in front of, I don't think you can all see each other. You can see me. But the point of this is do it on your own time, let go and allow. It would be like gardening or smelling the flowers. Even though you garden, I forget to smell the flowers. Welcome to being human. I got sunflowers out there. I don't think I've smelled them once. Whoops, I just remembered that right here. Okay, so the point of this is we forget everything. Remember to remember if you can remember to remember when you remember. And that's not even original. There's a Songyal Rinpoche, if you follow Buddhism at all, who taught his students for 35 years, remember to remember. I thought that was the one thing I could hang my hat on that was original. Not even. So it's just love. And, what will you allow for? Okay, next thing, Elizabeth, so I can keep it moving for you. Do you want me to put an angel photo up?
Yes, that would be wonderful. But first, I just want to let you know, Courtney is saying, I don't know if this is too woo-woo, but the past few nights and until the 21st, the veil is supposed to be the thinnest. So it's a good night to give it a try. It's true that all of a sudden today is the summer solstice. So at 4 o'clock this afternoon, we entered into summer, which is not usually the case. But Cancer, like Capricorn is in Cancer this right now. And so because of some change in the astrological system, we now today are the summer solstice instead of tomorrow. So would you say that at a time like this, the veil is thinner and it's a good time to be trying these things?
I think the time is always now. Like, I'm not kidding that now is always the occasion, this present moment. I think angels would remind folks there's just this moment right now. I've been reminded of this for 12 years. I ask a lot of questions on my path of angels, and I get a lot of reminders to just chill out. I don't have to pester as much. I can enjoy this unfolding. The time is now. I mean, I've been reminded that a couple hundred times in the last 10 years. So I'm going to go with answer A. The time is always now.
So we don't have to worry if we can't get to it today or tomorrow, right?
Well, yeah, and it's whatever a person believes in. That's the thing is, think about it this way, 7 billion people plus, and they've all got their own individual ways of thinking. Let's just do NFL, Jets, New England Patriots. There's a lot of people who would not agree the other team is okay. You know, I'm not here to change anybody's team affiliation. Now, fantasy football has changed things quite a bit. You end up rooting for players that are on completely different teams. It opens you up more than you realize. So fantasy football is a positive, if you can believe it. But think of it this way. It's a little bit like when Tom Brady played for the New England Patriots. And I hope, you know, you're not a fan, but do you want to meet Tom Brady? And that could be Jesus. That could be Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, Vishnu, Krishna, Ganesh. If it's India, Geronimo Don't Life Red Shirt, Crazy Horse. If it's Native American chiefs, Gandhi, whoever, it can be a big deal for a certain figure, Jesus, Mary, Muhammad, Buddha. So it's very interesting. Over the years, I've noticed people will be very comfortable meeting kind of frontline angels, be okay with Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel. There's a certain figure they need to, in my opinion, build up to. And that is where I put the category of the lost relative. You need to just own it on the angel front, practice your basic listening, basic feeling, hear that it's okay, and then do it. But you never want to just start off like going straight to the Olympics, straight to the pole vault, and you've never touched the pole. So a little bit of practice just goes a long way. And then, you know, it's like the car thing, relax about it. And you've got an inherent skill to drive. I mean, look at most of us today, no problemo. I'll put up an angel photo with your permission. I'll show a couple photos though that are just different shapes, so no one says orbs. There's an angel named Heather who does hearts in her photos. You can go all over my website and see all the different hearts. I've seen her as a human, like physical, in Maui, Sweden, New York, Austin, and Vegas. And that was a lot of it was before I knew I was going to be doing any of this. So if you told me I was going to do any of this, I would have been like, what? Here's Plato, spirit guide, unconditional love figure. You can see the old man's face, if I can try to hold it. There's a mustache, nose, eyes, no hugs for him. They're sweaty, a fist pump tap on the shoulder. I'm the type who's like, hey, one hug's worth 100 questions. A fairy named Ginger. And I got a lot of different ways that she shows up. No one type of form. There's Tinkerbell as well. That took me 6 months to allow for, like Plato. It's another 6 months there. I mean, I'm the slowest on the uptake. It takes me 2 years to allow for 6 months or at least a few weeks for what all of you would do like that. But I'm a very fast teacher. And an Omega Institute staffer who's now down in Miami, but used to be at the Art of Living Retreat Center, put at the end of her testimonial on the website, and Tinkerbell was my very favorite. So I'm off the hook, and people can see jointly as well. 4 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, 3 more off camera. Archangel Michael directly one way. And what I'd like to do is just do the first angel I've always done, which is joy, the emotion, joy. She's the ambassador, communicator. If the big Mary in the sky once said, love is everywhere, open your eyes to see love. I love that statement. If I can remember anything and I remember that, you know, it's got to be important. I don't remember much. Joy is kind of like that. She's like love. She's everywhere. You know, you get good news. You just happen to, your team wins and you do a jig. You happen to love something. Your dog does something funny. You laugh spontaneously. I mean, joy is a constant. And I would argue that the best time of your life actually never went away. It's not as externally dependent as we think it is. So it's not about the finances, illness, the loss thing. It's a constant that you have to rediscover within that allows you to have a bigger, better foundation, or je ne sais quoi for life. That it's Elizabeth. Elizabeth vibes out. I was walking around for days afterwards, thanking her for her attentiveness to how she flows her energy. She's super positive. I love it. And she made things really easy for me to do. And I put her through the ringer. Here's an angel named Joy. Think of her as your not crutch, but she's here to get it done. You got to play pickleball tomorrow. You want her to jump in your arm, hit a couple winners. Why not? I'm not telling you to cheat in the tournament, but I'm just saying, what will you allow for? Usually we don't walk around saying, how can I have more fun in life? How can I do this? How can I do that? we're usually looking at our shoe tips. I mean, that's me. We all know what we know. No one's going to tell us otherwise. But here's Joy. You can put your hands out, both hands if you want, treat her like a fireplace, but instead of fire, get sparkle, warmth, feel what you can feel. Remember, hey, Joy, help me out of my head into my heart. Help me feel a little vibe, energy, high vibedness. Try too hard, you get sparkles on your toes. You can get a whoosh down your back. If you're already like jiggy with it, you're doing this, ask for 3 hugs right away down your back while you're feeling on your hand. You're now juggling 2 balls at once. The brain can only bat down 1, 2, or 3 balls. It's like you're at a professional volleyball thing and your ego wants to jump out on the court, interrupt the match, and then it gets tased, by the way, by security and hauled off. It can only block 1 or 2 acts. So I'm going to have you doing like 4 or 5 things here so something gets through and around what you know. Ask for the smell of flowers. Let her move in the photo. You might see a face. You might see pink flashes. People from New Zealand and Europe have been getting vibes. I don't know what to call that. Light movement. That's light energy form. Ask her a simple question and listen. It'll sound like your own voice for 1 second, but here's the puff question of all time. Hey, Joy, do it silently in your heart. Don't get caught saying this out loud at the supermarket. Hey, Joy, what do I need to know in life right now? Hear a little whisper back. It'll be your voice for half a second. Some of you will just get it right away. Otherwise, you're going to get a high, peppy, hey. And if you're worried about this, or you're like, hey, I don't know, like it's a pool party, you don't want to jump in the pool. I'm the slowest guy to get in a pool. 1 hour later, I'm only up to my ankle or my knee. Then just be like, hey, Joy, what do I need to know? But you're going to hear like, breathe, relax, you got this, slow down. Allow for what you can allow for. Let her do her job. I love saying this to Americans. Get out of here, get to here, let her do her job. A lot of Americans crumble at that point and are like, okay. And if you want to feel a wind in the room, a light gust, you want to smell Hawaii or pick an exotic beach, even if you don't know the place, just ask for the highest level of vibe. If you're already outside and you're already with this, you could ask for a hand on your shoulder. You could put your hand out like as if a person's in the room and get a little squeeze. You can get goosebumps. You know, there's 1 million ways to get a hug. Yummy in the tummy, warmth, general roses coming in the room, and you have a high vibe feel. A couple goosebumps back of the neck, top of the head, feels like you got a hand on the shoulder. There's no one way. That's why with 7 billion people, think of all the ways we do all our thinking. I mean, that's like 400 trillion thought forms. And unfortunately, thinking is not love. Love is love. And so all the details in the world are totally real, but this isn't about details. And I want you to have all your details for all your answers. Angels will give you all languages, all dialects, all answers. But here's the critical part. They also know just what to say, given your personality. You like the Jets, you don't like the Patriots. They know how to navigate you to deliver the message. So if you want to think of it in a like scientific way, it's a vibration that comes in that turns into Russian, Swahili, Japanese, whatever your native language is, plus that dialect you're comfortable with, but it also turns into just the way Karen or Sarah or Susan needs to hear it. And so that's the beauty of angels, is they just know how to reach you and to be love. Okay, can I see a show of hands? Who got something? A smell, a feel, a flower, a vibe, a goosebump? Okay, beautiful. That's more, yeah.
That was a wonderful exercise. And I have a question in the chat box, and I think it's really important to be able to ask you this because all of us are probably wondering it, or many of the parents on here. Um, it's so sweet because the mom is saying, is it fair to ask Michael where the angels go when our child is sick and we ask for help during illness and they don't heal? She doesn't want to be unfair. She just wants you to maybe give your insight as to what you think about that. And I hate to bring the vibe down, but it is important to be able to maybe answer that question for everyone who's on here this evening.
Well, I can say that healing is possible. What will you allow for? What will you ask for? That's a conversation to have directly with angels. Some stuff's written, some stuff's not. And it's kind of like that Lawrence of Arabia movie, you know, in the Middle East, they have very sacred ways of talking. And they're like, I think it was Anthony Quinn was like, it must have been written. They saved the guy one moment, but he died like an hour later in the movie. And the point of this is some stuff is the life path of the person. Angels will often share most of it. If you're asking about somebody else's life, that's where there can be a line drawn, and that's between you and angels. Sometimes it's a close relative, you're the mom, then you probably should know. And again, that's the direct conversation. There was, how do I say this abstractly? There was a physician, not the physician I mentioned, this is like 8 years ago, 5 years ago, who had a very severe disease, like Michael J. Fox style. And that was their life path to have that. So that was not going to get lifted off. He or she was having that conversation, but there was a certain type of shaking going on. And I'm a very creative type. The person was able to ask an angel if they could get that reduced, and they heard the percentage that they could get the volume turned down on this shaking. So it's a direct conversation with the universe, with angels, Mary, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, however you roll. You ask about it. I've walked through 2 walls of light. My first house in Austin, this is like 10 years ago. I had stretched myself too much. I felt like I was coming down with a cold, but I hadn't gotten it yet. But it's the type of feeling where, the next morning you're cooked. I walked through some light and I was like, whoa. And I think it was joy. And then I went through it somehow like 2 minutes later. It was a very big learning lesson for me, but I literally got better that way. And you can ask for a hug from an angel. If you go to my website, you'll see Audrey Hepburn's photo. I'll put that up in a second if we can try one more thing, one more step. But you ask for hugs, feel a hug. If you can feel a goosebump, then extrapolate here. Just ask for more love in the hug. Hear from joy. I got it. There was a guy who had cedar fever who was like a minor league baseball. Is that AAA? The one that isn't the minor league, the next level down. He had cedar fever. It took him like 20 tries asking joy to ditch the cedar fever. If you know Texas and cedar fever, it's not that easy to lose it. It's almost like the flu. And then a year later, I saw him and he had the same thing. And he was watery-eyed and everything else. And he has done so much with me with angels. He's seen full on. He knows. But he was so far into the cedar fever, he had asked a couple times for relief, but he still went home and went to bed. I think it's up to each person how you're going to react to everything. It's each situation is different. And I get what the questioner was asking about that, but that's a direct conversation. And the so personal, I do not see people's questions. I don't see their answers. I don't hear their medical conditions. I just make sure you're owning it for what you're allowing for, and to clear the decks and to let you, the higher you, your higher self, you can see your soul out the window. It looks like Aurora Borealis. You can meet all your relatives, but you meet your angels first. You own what you've got for basic listening. I'll put Audrey Hepburn's photo up, Elizabeth, with your permission. We'll do one more quick round. She's an angel, if no one minds me saying that. Unconditional love. She's like half grace, half sparkle in the moment. There's already an angel named Grace. You can let her move. Eyebrow goes up, wink, smile, hands move, shoulder waggle. What will you allow for? Catch an uninvented perfume from Paris. I just did a panel yesterday. If you watch Paul Sugar, Dr. Leanne Whitney, who's co-host, guest host of New Thinking Aloud, Jeffrey Mishloff's show. She was on with also the Welsh theater director, Iwan Briach. They had so much fun, they came back on. At the end of the show, Iwan in Wales caught the uninvented perfume in the air. It might have been an angel instead of Audrey bringing it to him, but he caught it and he said it on air. So what will you allow for? Ask her a question, get an answer, get a hug, or just get a hug first, but hands off your face, sit up a little bit straight, open your mouth a little, kind of own it. You got to own it your way. If you were a former baseball player, poet, you just are a writer, you love growing plants, you just take a shower and you love hot water, great. Think of Wayne Dyer. You can't be upset when you're in the hot shower. It's what Eckhart Tolle said. Ego implies unawareness. Awareness and ego or thinking cannot coexist. You're either in your heart or in your head. Take a breath, be in that big heart of yours. Let her do her job. But for those who are kind of rocking along, feel a slender, elegant hand on the small of your back or on your shoulder, at least a goosebump. Ask for waves of light to pass through you. And again, you can put your hand up and feel on your palm. You can do it off screen so no one sees you doing it. It doesn't matter. Turn your hand up in your lap. Either way, ask for what you will allow for. Ask her to come in. Catch what you can catch. And again, this is one of my favorites. Sai Baba's photo, the one from 100 years ago from India. I use that and this one, and it moves the most for folks. Can I see a show of hands? Who got a wink, a smile, an eyebrow went up, a shoulder waggle? I see hands. That's good. Hey, don't worry about it like now. Just go like on the front page of my website, there's Geronimo next to I think it's Min, my guardian angel, but the double white balls of light, if you like that better, that's the same guardian angel. There's no one way about the photo. The book cover, the whitish metallic ball light is her. So it's not about orbs or silhouettes or triangles or Audrey Hepburn's photo, although they're all helpful. They're great stepping stones. What are we doing here? Getting you pried out of, crowbarred out of the brain and what you know long enough to trust that heart of yours that you're already using all day long, or at least, 10 times a week. I argue, I love dogs. I love my cat. I got a dog named Joy and a cat named Presley, for an angel who represents the interconnectedness of all. I love pets. They're unconditional love. Absolutely my favorite. Humans, it's hard to please everybody, so I don't try to do that. I just try to, it gets kind of arranged for me, whatever you're going to allow for. So if you need to kind of go on your own journey here, tell the universe just the following: hey, I'll take a carefully choreographed, beautiful journey the next 3 weeks, 3 months. You got to be stubborn about it. Be like, hey, 3 years, I'm a slow learner, but surprise me. I'll take dream time. I'll take a couple strangers who are sparkly eyed, who are like, hey, what's the rush? If you got gusto, ask them for coffee, have coffee with them. You can actually hang with angels. You got to picture it as the Star Trek from the 1960s, Spock, Captain Kirk on the bridge of the Enterprise. Angels do not want to interfere. You have free will. It's more important that you're getting the experience you're having, period. And experience is especially what you get when you don't get what you want. I'd love to say I said that, but I borrowed it from somewhere. But experience is what you're getting all the time. It's what you do with everything. It's the difference between knowing and wisdom, like Peaceful Warrior, the gymnastics movie. That Socrates, by the way, figure played in the movie by Nick Nolte, that was an angel. You can meet him. But knowing, most of us are doing knowing, precluding possibility. Few of us, as one angel put it, named Dale, who coached an Olympic athlete who won a lot of golds, few of us allow for continued growth and expansion. That applies to psychic mediums, that applies to physicists. As soon as we get a couple PhDs, a couple bestsellers, or a good book of business, we tend to go, whoop, shut tight like an oyster again. Who wants to learn anything new? So that's kind of what this is about, is what will you allow for? And you got to find your own way to kind of ease yourself into the pool, call it the pool life, consciousness, more love, and then be surprised at what comes your way. But you got to slow down, try not to worry about this or stress or can I, should I, any of that. You just have to trust what you've got.
This has been wonderful, and it is so good to know about how to communicate with our angels, our guides, and then ultimately with our children. I want to go back to Catherine's question. I want to reaffirm what you were saying, which I think that all of us, as we move forward, start to believe that there was a plan in place for our kids, because so many of our kids have told us before they transition that they weren't going to be here for long. And one of the people who supports Helping Parents Heal with many different things that he does, Dr. Mark Pitstick, and he works on the soul phone as well, frequently says, aren't your kids lucky to have been able to learn everything that they needed to here on earth in a very short time and to graduate back home early? So we believe that this is school, that we are here to learn, and that our kids are home and that they're still with us. So what you have talked to us about today has been so helpful to all of us, because raising our vibration will allow us to better connect with our children in spirit, as well as our angels and our guides and everyone else who we want to be able to be connecting with. So thank you so much, Michael. This has been so wonderful. I don't know if you have just a few words that you wanted to wrap up with before we finish, but we always ask everybody to say thank you and good evening after. So do you have maybe something to say in the next minute or so before we end?
Sure. Just love more, allow more, trust that angels exist, allow for this possibility, your answers and much more will come. And this is really just about, and I'd wrap it up this way, but I can also cover anything else you want briefly. Allow for more in each moment. That's all this is. It's always bigger than we think it is, because this isn't about thinking. And it's a very difficult thing to discern. We can go decades being stuck or just knowing what we know. We feel bad. We've got a reaction. And this isn't about that. This is about pausing that long enough to get a breath of fresh air and allow that opening, that connection to the universe, or whichever way you need to say it, religious, non-religious. And about faith, I'll just do it this way. It's religious faith, non-religious faith. To me, it's the same thing. It's just trusting in the moment, allowing for the highest intent for all and the distance from here to here. But again, some of us, it takes decades or even 2 lifetimes to truly get to here. You got to just trust your own heart.
That's beautifully said. Thank you so much. And again, we always ask everyone to say thank you and good evening. Please make sure that you check out Michael's podcast. And I'm on a podcast that he just he published recently. So if you'd like to see that, I'll make sure that I get you the link. And again, Irene, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Just thank you so much. What a great hour this has been. Thank you, Michael.
Wow. Oh, thank you, Irene.
Yes.
Okay. And,
Thank
yes,
you.
please unmute.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you so much, and we'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Kit.
God bless.